Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. If you're lost, don't know everything you need to know in your case, even if you have an attorney and you don't know the legal strategy, the preparation for trial, whether you're close to trial or not, you should be preparing for what you're going to build up for trial. What your next if you're not in the know about the game plan, what's the long-term and short-term goals, then you're in the dark. You need a consultation with me. Go to my bio and click on my flow page with one touch button. You can touch a button and contact me, text, email, or whatever if you want to set up an appointment. If you don't believe I know what I'm talking about, click on my flow page and look at my section that says winning court orders. You don't have your attorney never showed you any track record of how often they won. You just believe them because they have a suit and tie. If you're on YouTube, go below this video and click on my flow page there where it says, need a consult with James? Here's my phone number, or check my flow page. I got countless people who say, how do I get a hold of you? How do I get an appointment? It's right there. If you just scroll a few inches. Gender's so freaking lazy. Like do you guys have any sense of urgency that your life with your kid is on the line? You're just going to put in the comments, James, I need help, and you're going to wait 4 or 5 weeks and maybe I'll stumble across it. Instead of you just calling me and getting a hold of me in 5 minutes, you'll risk waiting for months before I even see your comment. Because I don't go looking through all the comments like an ambulance chasing attorney looking for, oh, where's the next client? I need, or whatever. In any case, I had to say that up front because I keep getting the people asking, how do I get a hold of you? What do you do? What are your rates? What are this? Go to my flow page. It's right there. Just like anybody else, whoever has any social media, their information is in their bio or under their videos. Just like everybody else in the world. No different here. So that being said, here's one thing when you're dealing with false allegations that I would really do. Or that I would emphasize and do now that, when I did my false allegations, or when I was dealing with false allegations in 2001, I was just winging it and using logic. I didn't know all this stuff that I know now that I've accumulated over the years. So, one thing I would say is, I have a packet in my store, Defense Against Protection Order packet. And in that packet, one of the documents is a bibliography where I quote like 30 different attorneys, documentaries, papers, bar associations, and make mention of quotes in the movie Divorce Court. And maybe not 30, maybe it's more like 20. And then I have an article and a couple other articles about a woman falsely accused planting child porn on her husband's phone. She downloaded a bunch of stuff at once. They figured out it was her. She's in prison for that now, thankfully. Articles written by people, bar association articles, and all this stuff about how people falsely accuse. But some of those quotes say that it's become such a phenomenon to go to court and falsely accuse somebody that it's become such a phenomenon that it's more often than not that the allegations will be false. So listen very carefully. You're in a court that's called a preponderance evidence court. They don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed domestic violence. They don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're a bad parent. They only have to prove by preponderance evidence. That means more likely than not. It's more likely that you did this than you didn't do it. And that could be a 51-49 burden. They just barely need to believe you over, like they could say, I believe her testimony that she was scared, and I believe you that you weren't trying to hurt her and all this other stuff, but you said something a little bit off, so it's more like, it's just a little bit, it's not a lot, but it's just a little bit more likely than not that you did assault her. So, boom, restraining order. So, if you're in a court where the burden of proof is more likely than not, and there's countless documentation out there that more often than not, or more likely than not, a woman lies about abuse in order to get leverage in the custody battle, then it's more likely than not that this woman is lying. So the presumption should start with that she's lying. You see that? You see, when you read and learn this stuff and get off your ass and actually care about your case, and you pay attention to this stuff and absorb it, a lot of you guys are so traumatized, you just hear stuff and it goes through one ear out the other. You're not paying attention. And I understand that. I've been in a narcissistic, abusive relationship where, I couldn't function half of the time throughout the day coming right out of that. I couldn't believe how bad I got played. I couldn't believe how bad I got used. I couldn't believe that I got cheated on. I couldn't believe what a piece of scum that I dated when she played damsel in distress and put on a really good show. Then she's screwing anywhere from 3 to 7 different guys a week behind my back. Like, that's embarrassing. That's humiliating. I couldn't believe it. The trauma of just getting played like that. And then I actually did care. So there's the hurt from that, but then the trauma, the audacity for this person to play me and then talk shit for me finding out, and she's traumatized because I found out her game. All the narcissistic stuff that Judge Anthony loves to talk to you about. That's a whole other side story. Judge Anthony pitches the narcissistic stuff. He realizes it's a good hook, line, and sinker to draw people in. That's all he ever talks about. Narcissist this, narcissist that. How to fight a narcissist. And people go, oh my God, he feels my pain. I can't believe somebody finally feels my pain. And he's luring you in to get you to pay him $750 an hour to learn nothing. But a couple of things, but not really. I've seen too many horror stories from him, so now I might do a video bashing him. I took my time because I didn't know enough about him, suspicious of him. But anyway, so I know what it's like to have that traumatic narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, going to court. I've been to court off and on for 20 years. And then after I was raising my daughter, the mother still went to court saying I'm abusive and dangerous to women and children, or I will become violent with anybody who disagrees with me. All this hypothetical down the road, kick the can down the road. And I tore their arguments apart so they'd have to come up with a new one. And it was just endless. Instead of the judge saying, I'm sick and tired of you guys abusing the system against James. Now, that happened with one judge, and then another judge wanted to be goody two-shoes and save the mother from her abandonment, so he's trying to get her involved in my child's life again, and she didn't want to. So I understand the pain and torture of the madness of going into the twilight zone of the family court. It is an entirely different world. But see, the answer is for people to go into court and start fighting like I'm talking about and standing up to these judges and talking to them and getting your attorney to do it, but nobody wants to do it. So the system doesn't change, and then you cry about the system because you want to be the first person ever that gets an easy ride through the family court system because you're an entitled little diva and you don't have to put any work in. And then nobody ever does that. So then the cycle just lather, rinse, repeat. The cycle just continues. So I'm going to go into court and say, Your Honor, bar associations, entire bar associations of attorneys and individual attorneys and countless documentaries and parents' rights groups have all said that people lie about child abuse and domestic violence in order to get leverage in custody battles, and that it happens more often than not, and that's more likely what happens when there's abuse claims. So we're in a preponderance of evidence court. So the assumption should be this person is lying. So they need to have some overwhelming proof that they're not lying. The preponderance of evidence is that she's lying because I got all this, especially if you got my packet in my store. I don't know. That should be probably my most, since everybody gets a restraining order, that probably should, well, I guess I tie with, I have a video on my Flow page talking about the 3 most important things in my store that everybody should have. If you're not falsely accused of abuse, then you just need 2 of those things. One of them is my packet on fighting for a 50-50 parenting plan or custody. Has a declaration arguing all the science and data and all this other stuff, supporting emotion for a temporary parenting plan. Then my evidence rule video, which everybody needs to know the rules of evidence. If you don't know the rules of evidence, that's like you not knowing the rules of basketball, about dribbling, passing, and shooting, and how everything is scored. You would be stupid to play basketball if you don't know those basic things. You're going to court and you don't know the basic rules of evidence as what's allowed in court and what's not. Or a baseball player, if you put Vaseline or if you scratch a baseball with sandpaper, it scuffs it up. And then so the aerodynamics are all thrown off. So then when a pitcher throws a ball, it'll move a lot crazier and strike more people out. So that stuff is banned from coming onto a baseball field and being in the pocket of a baseball pitcher. If you don't know that rule, you're stupid when it comes to baseball. You're not allowed to have poison on the tips of your gloves like supposedly Sonny Liston did when fighting Muhammad Ali. You got to be an idiot to not know those kind of rules. Why would you go to court and not know the basic rules of what's allowed in court and what's not? So, if you have my defense against restraining order packet, you have the whole bibliography. Or you can do your own research and just Google family court, false allegations, domestic violence, child abuse, and then just assemble even more than what I got assembled in my bibliography. Even though it'll take a while, I've done it over years, but you can do it. So you should go in with this argument that it's more likely than not that she's lying. Did you ever think that possibility? Every other